welcome back. So now what we're going to be doing is working on the front end of the follow system. So we have already constructed the back end. We've had the entities created. The database has been scaffolded out, and then also we have the functions created here in the hubs underneath Room Hub. We should see request follow, request unfollow. And then additionally, I've included the follow count in the DTO for follow. Come on, follow count, follow count. No, not this one. If I look at the room, pardon me, we have number of follows here. And then if I look at the VM for room, I'm going to get rid of number of follows. And I'm going to add in here a collection of a follow VM called follows. And so in the data access layer, when we are getting the room VM, instead of doing this, we just want to do a toList asynchronous. And we're going to say that this is my follows. And that's it. We need to do it again down here. toList asynchronous. And when we do this, we want to include the application user. And then the last one is here, which is a right here. We'll do this as a follows, as a toList asynchronous, and that should do it. Now we can run this, and on the front side, we need to take a look and make a new class underneath iRoom called follow. It's an interface called iFollow, and on this it's just going to be a application user called a iApplication user, and then a room iRoom. And on this we need to have a number of these follows, like that. Okay, now in our hub for room, is it room or is it the other hub? This is for a VM. So a room has a VM which needs to include the as a follows. And then the same thing here. We're going to change this to be called follows. And it's active. And this is a toList asynchronous. Okay, run this. Now on the front side, I need to interface with these functions, request follow, request unfollow. So here under room service, we need to have a new, and I have two of these, one called receive follow, and one called receive follow. So we'll say follow received, which is a new subject of a I follow. And then we also have a follow change received, CEIVED, which is a new subject of a I follows, like that. Like that. Okay, then we need to, in here, have the invocations of the, and it's called receive follow, which is a follow of an I follow type. And this is a follow received. And this one is a received follows, plural. And it's these, plural. And it's called follows received. Okay. Then down here, I need to have a function called request follow, which needs to have a room ID. And it's a if this hub connection exists, then we want to do a this.hubconnection.invoke request follow. And we're going to pass in the ID. And then we have the same thing again here called request unfollow. Like that. And then the last one is down here, and we need to have a get follow, which is a I follow, and we're exposing it as an observable called a follow received. And then the last one is get follows, plural, which is like that. Like that. Okay. So the next thing is when I'm displaying a room's component, I want to have, if I look here, we're going to have a new column called a number follows. And I put that right after number users online. So right here, we're going to say number follows, and this will be called follow count, and it's going to be element.number follows. So let's go ahead and look at the board again, at the app. We need to start up the back end. And this time when I look at rooms, it says follow count, but it's not populating a number. So if I look at rooms, where you're doing the, just a second, request rooms, plural. Let's look at what's coming out of this. Okay, so we're going to retrieve the rooms. We get 1, which includes a number of users online, and a follows with a count of 0, because this is a list of room VM. So back in here, it's called follows.count length. And now it shows the correct follow count. So if I look at the room, now what I want to have is I want to have a follow button. Which I can put over here next to the we'll make another column in here in a player. We want to add another one called right here. We'll do a break, and I want to do a number follows, and then we'll do a bold, and it's a number follows, and then I want to do a button, and on this we want to say nothing, but on the button type, if I look at my Angular material for buttons, we'll use this one is a matte icon. So on this one, we're going to say that we want this to be a button with a matte icon. And then we want it to be a matte icon, no color. And then on player, we want to have a number follows here. And then I want to assign that this dot follows. Number follows is equal to nothing, 0. You can just say undefined. But number follows are being sent and received on so you could request your number of follows when you came into the room, but it should be attached to the room. So it's this dot number follows is equal to room information dot and then it should be a room dot follows dot length. I think that's it. But now what we're saying is that my room information, modal, this is a room VM. Which makes this a var room equals await your data access layer dot read room asynchronous of your application user room dot id. And then in this one, we need to do the same thing. Which is from your application user room dot new dot room dot id. Because you already have room VM here. So you should already have this. You could just do this as a room. And then this one is a room entity. I don't see where it's reading the room. Right here. So I don't think you need to do this at all. It's just room and room. And now we'll run it again. Okay, so if I let this refresh, let's see what we get. I look at rooms. I get my follow count. And then if I look at the player, my number of follows here, I just have the button. And then I don't think that this ever got assigned. It's because you were doing that. And then we didn't get the heart button. So if I look at player component here, I'll just paste in this element. Here we go. It brought it in, but not as a button. So I feel like you could use these two. That would look nice. So this one has a button wrapping it, as does this one. So if I look at this again, we give it a button wrapping this. I don't care about this or this one. If I look at this button here, it has a matte mini fab and matte accent. Okay, that looks good. If I got rid of this and this, I just put a standard button behind it. So if I look at this one, it's a matte icon button. Called a matte icon button. Okay. And if I did a color equals accent, and I did a matte accent on it, and then on the other side of things, if I did this as a primary, Okay, let's now go ahead and get rid of, let me look at the mat icons one more time. Maybe you should do it black and accent. What's this one? It's disabled. If I got rid of this and this and this, didn't like it when I got rid of the class. Didn't like it when I got rid of the role. Didn't like it when I got rid of the aria hidden. And I guess favorite is telling it which mat icon to use, right? So if I just got rid of those, okay, and on this, I want to do a class equals cursor link, which is one I wrote to give it the click. I thought there was one called cursor link. So let me bring this one into my player. Still doesn't like cursor link. Okay, that's better. And then when you click it, we want to do a new click event called follow button click. So in here, down at the bottom, we'll have the follow button click. And what I want to say is that this dot room service dot request follow of my this dot room service dot application user room dot id. And up here we want to say is following is boolean. So when you get your room information, if my room information dot room dot follows dot filter x, where my application user, where your application user ID is equal to your this dot room service dot application user, no, this dot hub service. So we need to add that as a private hub service, where your ID is equal to your ID of the first one. And then we want to do this as a, if there is this, then we want to say this dot is following equals true. Okay, so now when I look at my room hub, if I was to request a follow, we are receiving it correctly. We step through it and it's going to say that it's null because we've already created it. Something didn't work here. First off, this one, that's okay. So when it tries to create the follow, it's null. Then you want to get your application user. Oh, and that's because you have this validation in here. So let's log in as another user. Give me just a second to put this in. All right. This time we go into this other room. Welcome to OpenDJRadio. Okay, it should start up, and it does, and it syncs. Our queue should be the same, and it is. We'll do the follow. This time we'll create it. And then we made one. Now we're going to receive the follows, which we got are 1. Beautiful. So if I was to reload this room, and go back into it, I was expecting number of follows to go up. So over here, where we are requesting the room. Okay, when I look at this, we shouldn't have any follows. And then when I go in the other room, oh good, this updated with one follow, so that's right. My room entity here doesn't include any of the follows. So it would be this one. Needs to go up here. Log in again. Same thing here. There's the other room with our follow count. We can sort by it. Okay, we gotta fix that. And this time when I get the room, we get the follows. What is this room entity new? Run it again. And we should get the number of follows here. And I changed rooms. Weird. Let's try it again. So it's airing out now somewhere. Let me go back. This will add that back in and try it again. So here we're going to do a alert working 2, and then we'll do a alert working 1. Try it again. Working 1, working 2. Working 2. We go into rooms. That's fine. We go into rooms. Here's my room information, which has one follow. Yeah, see, it was failing there. Working one. And we got our number of follows. We'll say dot length is greater than 0. And that'll be if this is following. Let's try it again. Alert working 1, and then alert working 2. Working 1, working 2. Working 2, that's fine. Go to rooms, we look at this one. Working 1. So this is failing because it's why would this be failing? I really want to look at what's in this room.follow, so we'll do a console.log of my room information. Try it again. Okay, we got my room information. I'm looking at what I received. Funny, it doesn't want to. There we go. It says cannot read ID of null. So when I look in this, it's saying that my I don't see follows on here. Underneath room, underneath follows, you don't have one. It never loaded it. It never loaded that application user room. So back here, where we are getting our follows on get room, we need to include the application user. Yeah, that should fix it. Working 2, we go to rooms, This one. Working 1, working 2. We got my follows. Okay. And so here on player, do you have something called isRoomOwner? So this we want to say isRoomOwner is a Boolean. And then when we get my application user room, we could say this dot isRoomOwner is equal to room information dot application user room dot isOwner. And so back over here now we could say that this button only appears if it is not owner. And then when we load player, we want this to be defaulted to true. There we go. And then if I go in the other room, now I can follow it. Okay. Now back over here, we can say is following is this bool. And we could say that this is and it's not is following. And then we'll have this one here, which will be is following, and this is going to be an unfollow button click. And this one we're going to say is a color equals accent. And then we can also do a Mac accent on this. And then we can also down here have the unfollow button click. Beautiful. Now here we can unfollow it. That was a request follow. which should be calling request unfollow. Let's go back into the other room. Hey, this one was request follow. This was request follow again. So it never changed the button. So we need to, on player, have our two subscriptions called follow received and follows received. And we need to dispose of those. So follow received and follows received. And then here we want to do a this dot follow received equals, and it's a this dot room service dot follow get follow, and we want to subscribe here my follow, which is a I follow. And in this we want to say if follow does not equal to undefined and follow is not equal to null, we want to do a this dot toaster service dot success. You are now following this room. We'll say follow success. Otherwise, we want to do a this dot toaster service dot success dot success. You are no longer following this room. Unfollowed. Okay. Hey there, Fallen Hope. How are you doing? Right, and then the other one is you want to say this dot is following equals true, and this dot is following equals false. And then the other one is a this dot follows received equals this dot room service dot get follows, plural. And we want to subscribe my follows here as I follow, like that. And then we want to do a this dot application users room, no, this dot room service dot room dot follows is equal to follows. And then I want to do this dot follow number follows is equal to follows dot length. I think that's it. We'll give it another run. Jump in here. We got one follow here in our channel. If I unfollow it, it goes this way. We didn't receive my number of follows here. We should have. It should go to every client in the room, not just the owner. And I see that it worked that way. So when you join the room, for the first time, when I look at this room, it doesn't have follows on it. So room got populated from here. And this needs to get moved above that one. Let's load it one more time. There we go. And we got our number of follows. Looks good. Looks good. Now in this, when we're doing this, we could say this.loading equals false. And then in here, I could do a this.loading equals true. And we'll add in a it's just called loading equals false. And in here, we want to include one of these NGRX loaders, which we can put in our map panel there. Okay. Then when we follow, it displays my loading. That was interesting. Doesn't like me here. It's not in a mat card. That's why it's not in a mat card. So we would have to do a mat card here, like that. So now when it does this, I should be able to just do just this panel, like that. And this needs to be a this.loading equals false. Looks good. And we can unfollow it. And we can follow it. Now, the last thing is on the hub, when we are requesting our follow here, we want to get all of the connections in the room. Read connections. Read application. Read connections by my room ID. Like that. And then like that. Now I could have a webhook that fires for that. So let me look in here. Whoops. And we want to look at my board, which is here. And we could say for a task, add ability for a webhook to be registered for when a user is followed. Okay, we need to log out, log in. Okay, so we have 1. Now we drop to 0, then we go back up to 1. So our follow system is working. The next thing that I want to do is if I look at rooms, that looks fine. If I look at a profile, underneath my room, I'd like to have that notification. So here, under profile, we want to add underneath the room image your room title. And if I look at iRoom, it's in interfaces called iRoom. You have a number of follows here. And then this one you want to say div class equals mat h4, and we'll do this as follows. And we'll say number of follows. And so we'll add that up here as number of follows is a number. And then here we could do this dot number of follows is equal to profile dot room dot number of follows. So now when I look at rooms and I look at this user, I'd like to get this number of follows here, but I don't see it. So I think it's a follows.length. Okay, so back over here, where I'm doing the get profile, it's called request profile. This one, we're only getting my follows count on profile. Try that again. And there you can see the number of follows. Now, it wouldn't be a bad thing to click on that and to be able to see who is following. But then additionally, we would like it that we have the favorite rooms listed here. Okay. So I think the first one that we could do is if I look at my shared modal for application users rooms modal, if I look at my TypeScript for this, I'm passing in a number of application user room. So it's going to be a little bit different. We can make a new modal here by doing an ng generate component called application users following modal in my module app. And we want to put that inside of shared modals and in there. So in this, we can have my CSS, my HTML, which is a users following, like that. And we still have to assign data. And this one should do a router link to the application user following ID. Okay, and then we also need the TypeScript, which is this. And we're going to do this for an application user as a application user's modals component. We need to pass in my mat dialog reference, my inject, my mat dialog, and then finally, in my app module, I need to have this under entry components, which is called application user following modal component. Okay, so when I look here at this CSS, we want to change all the words room to following. Okay. So back here on profile, if you were to click on this, and this is going to be view profile follows. What you want this to do is this new function called view profile follows. And in this, we're going to pass in here the first thing we need is we need to request the follows on the profile, right? Because I haven't received them. Or did I? You're only getting follow count. You never got your follows on your room. So this needs to be a toList asynchronous, and this is called follows. And this is dot count. So that way you already have them. And when you're viewing your profile images, you can just do this modal, which is called your profile follows. And if I look at the other one where we're opening it, application user room modal, users room modal. Here, you're doing it 400 by 500. And my data is going to be this dot profile dot room dot follows. like that. So now when I look at this again, and I look at this user, now I can look at the follows. Interesting. So it doesn't want me to look at it like it was a link. So we'll do a router link here is equal to just that. Okay, now when I look at my Git profile, we look at profile, and on it we have a room VM that has follows with no application user. Like that. So we'll run it again. Log out, log back in. Okay, this time when I look at this, I get my number of follows, and then my room has one follow with an application user. And if I click on it, still didn't load any data. Okay, so that means that over here, this needs to be a iFollow. Which makes this dot application user. Just a second. So this time we're going to do a console dot log of my data instance. It never fired my data instance there. So that's concerning. It's definitely launching it. Oh, it's because it's not this one, it's a application users following modal component. If I look at where the buttons are on this modal, that seems right. Close button container. Close button. Close button. So that should be fine. Who is that? Hey there, Tulio Nagura. Welcome to the channel. If you have any questions, what I'm working on, don't hesitate to put them into the chat. There we go. And then we can go and check that profile. Okay, we also want to have this same thing on room, which is under my player. On the HTML here, we want to have my number of follows here as a link, which a router link of nothing, and then a click event here called view profile follows, like that. And then in here we can have my view profile follows. And this is on my this dot room service dot room dot follows. And we need to have a injected private mat dialog in here as a mat dialog. Okay, so that's working. The next one is the show users button. I have this here as another a link. Like that. Looks good. Looks good. So the only thing left to do for this ticket is to be able to see a list of the followed users in here. And then also as a dashboard. And maybe we would just want to make a new tab in here called Favorite Rooms. That might be the easiest thing. So if I look in Rooms, we could make a new panel here. Called right here, and I could say that this is called followed rooms. And you'll have this as a form. Well, this won't matter. We can get rid of this little form. Then we're going to have this table, which will be called data source favorites. And we'll have the room image. Like that. So back over here we can have a data source called favorites. Hey, this is really inspiring, says Scorpion. Thank you for doing this. I wish you could watch, but it's late. Thank you. Hope your project is completed soon. It's already up online, Scorpion 2. You can check it out at OpenDJRadio.com. So then when you're doing your init, and you're requesting your rooms, we also want to do a this.hubservice.request rooms favorite. Hey there, Scorpion 2. Thank you for that follow. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, you know what to do. Sorry, Fallen. Hope I don't have that one up. This is going to be called request rooms favorite, which will be called request rooms favorite. And then up here we need to have a rooms favorite received, and then a receive rooms favorite, which is going to be a response is a iRoom array called receive rooms. Sorry, it's a rooms favorite received. And then down here we need to have a get rooms favorite received, which is a iRoom array called rooms favorite received. So back here in my hub service, I should have a request rooms. And then here we want to do this one more time, called request rooms favorite, receive rooms favorite, read rooms favorite. And this needs to be a GUID application user ID, right? Okay. And then when you receive this back in rooms, we can have a rooms favorite subscription, and I can add that to the dispose. And then up here we will subscribe it as a this.rooms favorite subscription equals this.hubservice.get rooms favorite, and we will subscribe my rooms, which is a iRoom array, to the this.data source favorites equals rooms, and that needs to be .data, and then we want to say rooms favorite Okay, we need to have a second paginator up here called paginator favorites. And then you're going to say this is a this.datasource.paginator. The data source favorites is paginator favorites. And then this data source favorites.sort is this.sort favorites. Should add that to the bot. Okay, I can do that. That should do it. Okay, we need to run the back end. And it's not going to work because I don't have this one implemented yet. So this one is read rooms favorite. So let me go find my read rooms asynchronous. We can just add it in right here. We'll steal from this one. And it's a public virtual asynchronous task where we're going to get all my rooms. We want to get all the favorites where the don't you have favorites in here? Follows. Read rooms follows. So there, and there. Get rooms followed. Get rooms followed. Receive rooms followed. Request rooms followed. Okay. And we want to get the ones where the application user ID is equal to application user ID and it is active. And we want to now get the rooms. So now what we're going to do is for each entity and entities, I want to, and instead of doing all this, we can do a vms.add await read room asynchronous of my entity.id. And in this, we can include the room. And so now I can say where my room dot is room online and room is room public. And my s.room.isLocked is false. Like that. And if I look back in this, this needs to be a request rooms followed. And then receive rooms followed. We'll give it a run. First things first, we need to log out, log in. This time when I look at rooms, it tells me that I can't find it because you have an error here in followed. Like that. Data source is followed. like that. Looks good. Now when I look at rooms, that looks right. And then when I look at this one, we didn't get my rooms followed. So if I look back here, I don't ever see it request rooms followed. I never see it hitting. Request rooms followed. Let me go ahead and restart that. Okay, so that time it reached out and it's going to say no. So it's unhappy with me. I wonder what that error was. We got the one follow. We read the room. And then we're ordering it by, because when it read the room, it got the wrong entity dot room ID. Now I got the rooms. If I look back here, this one needs to be online or it won't work. Okay, I don't see it returning data. And it includes all the information that it needs. And it should be displaying that. And right here, this should be where it's assigning the data source. Data source is followed. You're past the schedule today? You mean I'm working later? I started late today. And now we got our room. Okay, my paginator's messed up. Paginator followed, sorts followed. And then up here we'll do a paginator followed. "5:30 a.m. is pretty early." Yeah, I didn't start on time today. Still hooking them together. So the solution for this is that we need to make a new component here called let's do a ng serve here and open it back up, and then in a new one we can do a ng generate component called a rooms followed, and we want to put this inside a shared, and we'll do it as a module app. And so now where we have rooms, I can just take this followed room card like that and move that into rooms followed. And we can say this is just called data source. And then we can bring the CSS in. And then on this one, we can bring in these two, paginator and room sort followed. So we need to, underneath my rooms followed, we need to bring in this one, and then this one. And then this one, Okay. And then we need to have the this rooms.followed subscription. Like that. We also want to have the rooms followed here as just called rooms. We need to have a private hub service called hub service. We need to have in the init these two. And then also this one. And then we need to have the ng on destroy with that one. Okay. And then I want to have an input parameter called profile ID. I could say that this is my application user ID, which is a string. So here we could say if this application user ID does not equal to undefined and this application user ID does not equal to null and it does not equal to nothing, and we want to do that one, else we want to do this one. We want to pass in the application user ID. It's just the ID here. And on the back end, we want to say this needs to be a GUID ID. And I want to say if my, and we can make it nullable, ID dot has a value and my ID dot value does not equal to GUID dot empty. Then we can say the user ID is equal to ID dot value. Like that. Okay. And so now back here, You could just do this as an undefined. And on this one, we want to find and replace now those. If I don't have the paid version of Visual Studio, is there an easy workaround to test and run? It says I need to pay to run the program. That's not accurate. Hey there, rough, faulty, Ensky. How are you doing? You shouldn't need to use the paid version of Visual Studio for your app. You should be able to use the community version. I'm using Visual Studio Code. There's lots of other IDEs out there you can use as well. So this is now called a data source. We have a navigate to room. Which is this. We need to add in here a room service. Yeah, to go download the community version. That's the one you want. We want to have a we want to have a private router called router. This is called Mat Dialog. And then up here we need to have the mat dialog now, which is a private mat dialog of a mat dialog. No worries. So let me go ahead now and look at this again. We have our data source. We also need to have the displayed columns. Can we try it again? Everything looks good. And now in rooms, we can do a app rooms followed. Okay, so we see the new one. If I go into rooms, it's not ever getting my followed room. Data source, data source. Okay, I don't ever see it updating the data source, right? It should do it here. Let's try it again. This time I go into rooms. I don't ever see it requesting my rooms followed. Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what's going on with this. I don't think that I can pass in the undefined here. So I wonder if I could do this dot room dot hub service dot application user dot ID. Because I don't ever see it hitting request rooms followed. Hey there, Rip Lex. How are you doing? Welcome to the channel. Let me log in again here. A second. Okay, we're logged back in. Failed to invoke request rooms followed due to an error on the server. Let's try it again. Failed to invoke request rooms followed. Let me go ahead and change this to be a string. No, what's going on with this? Request rooms followed. Well, we are really close to finishing this one up. So let me do this. Looks like that got disconnected. So I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, we'll be gone for, let's say, 12 minutes. When I come back, we're going to finish up this last little partial, and then the only thing left that we need to do is add it to the profile, and then we're done with this ticket. So thank you for staying with me, and I will see you guys in just a little bit.